So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And today I would like to welcome you all in November Hypertrace community call. I'm Jayesh Ive. I'm product manager here at Traceable, working specifically on Hypertrace from past 1.5 years. So yes, so as you folks come here, you might know a little bit about Hypertrace. I will just glance through where we are today and what we provide, and then we can go through some of the engineering updates and demos for this month. So talking about Hypertrace is a real-time distributed tracing and observability platform that helps team make sense of the production requests and response data. So and even identify trends in their networks. So Hypertrace converts distributed trace data into relevant insights for everyone. So infrastructure teams can identify which services are causing some overload, or application teams can go and figure out which requests from their service are putting the service objectives at risk. And deployment teams can understand if a new version they have deployed is causing some problems. So Hypertrace accepts all the major tracing data formats, which means if you have already instrumented your application for any open distributed tracing standard, you can use Hypertrace without changing anything. We created Hypertrace and Traceable and open sourced it, and now community is helping us to make it best observability platform out there. So as I mentioned, our agenda for today involves I will go through some of the capabilities Hypertrace has and what we are building, and then we will go through engineering updates and demos for this. So first, what different things Hypertrace provides. So Hypertrace has a very rich topology. There's application flow which we provide out of the box. So once you start sending data to Hypertrace, it will provide you application flow which shows all the services and backends and data flow across your in your application, and it's scalable for hundreds of services. We have pecan dashboards for services, APIs, and backends, which contain all the relevant information in that context. Extensibility, you can write your own enricher with Hypertrace. Like if you have any business specific use case or business need, you can create your own view. You can write your own enricher and even surface the data on the dashboard. Interoperability, as I mentioned, Hypertrace works out of the box with all the open source tracing standards. So if you have already instrumented your application with Zipkin, Hotel, or Agar, you can out of the box send data to Hypertrace and start using it. Everything you see on the UI traces, spans, entities are exposed in GraphQL API. So if you want to build your next creative use case, you just use GraphQL and create new screens as well. API and trace analytics, Hypertrace provides a powerful explorer which lets you slice and dice on all the trace and span data. And we are even doing some of the modifications on Explorer, some of the enhancements on Explorer, one of which Sandeep will be talking about, but there's a bunch of those which are going on in the parallel. Span logs, in this year we also added supports for span logs. So now you can see if you're already sending logs associated with your spans, you can see them in the platform, and it will definitely speed up the RCA and reduce MTTD in most of the cases. Here analytics, we help you find out issues quickly by highlighting errors across the platform, may it be service entities or backend entities or application flow, or may it be span or calls on whatever we. Alerting, we recently released alerting, and you can now set alerts on deviation or anomalies on out of the box metrics like latency, call rate, and error rate, and even alerting for the custom metric will be coming in the future. So talking about deployments and compatibility as well as instrumentation. So the infrastructure-wise, you can deploy Hypertrace on any Kubernetes or Docker native environment. So you can go with KTS, Docker, ECS, EKS, GKE, AKS, EC2, or VMs. And as I mentioned, it's compatible with any open standard like Zipkin, Open Telemetry. And as you can, we even have our own language modules written on top of Open Telemetry. So if you want to use our auto instrumentation or Java auto instrumentation or Java agent, you can find that in Hypertrace or Java agent as well, or you can use our Go instrumentation or Python instrumentation. And we even have a Node.js agent in progress. So that will be available soon as well. Cool. So On that note, I will give it to Ronak, who will go through engineering updates and what different things happened in the background in this particular.
Hey, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll walk you through the some of the highlights for this month as a part of the engineering as just mentioned. So as all of you know from that there are couple of major projects going on. One was alerting. For the alerting, we were also once we finished most of the work on the alerting that you can see from the detail on the ticket. We were also working that in utilizing this alert engine
Mummy,
as a part of the
mummy.
as part of the traceable. So last month we finished the integration of alert engine with the traceable, and so now the alert engine is used inside the traceable. Apart from that, we are also working of supporting the application metrics. That means accepting one of another pillar, like we have support for traces, logs, and now with these features, uh, we will able to also the Hypertrace will also able to accept the matrix data as a in the pipeline. So there are two part of this project. One is that building the ingestion pipeline, and another is the providing the query layer for to retrieve this data. So as part of the ingestion component, last month we have finished the metric processor, metric exporter. In this month, we have finished the metric extractor. As a part of the query layer, if you go to the tickets, we have highlighted design, and for that we have already started working on that. And as for the design, we are going to store this data as some PROM compatible store. So currently we are going to hook this data using our query service layer. So there are two component work is under progress where we are writing the converter, language converter, which is our query service language based on attribute to convert in the prompt query. And there's another independent component which takes the prompt query request and build a REST interface. You internally utilize the prompt query REST API, but making it independent so that for the in the future it can be utilized for the newer API in a Hypertrace as well. The when this method projects take its path. So that was the another big bucket item is going on. Apart from that, there are a lot of explore enhancement related items are going on. Uh, so we are going to see the demo of the span count. So there was a requested feature where in Explorer, user want to see that, okay, given 15 or so last 1 minute, how many spans I have received. So previously that support was missing, and as part of that requested ticket, we have support for that. Another useful things that we'll see as a demo is a toggable agent. So when you go to Explorer in a current Hypertrace, then you can group by. So when you say last 15 minutes or last 1 hour, all the traces or span, then you say group by backend services. So then you will see all the services. Let's say you have 5 services: front end, Mongo. So it will show the buckets of all the 5 buckets for all your 5 services. But let's say you want to compare between only for backend and mid layer services, those leads end, and that was not possible. So and that is the new feature that has added, and I think we'll see the demo for that. There is another work which is another interesting work which is in progress, that currently we in our Hypertrace we have support for the first class attribute. So what do you mean first class attribute? Here, if you receive the see the spans has a many dynamics tags, right? When you generate the spans, there are many spans based on your environment. They might have any additional data apart from identifying a service and other things, and that will be useful for your business use cases. So currently, there was no way that you can say, okay, uh, group by all the span or all the traces where payment was something greater than this, or payment was made by this tag. So payment is a very specific tag that's sent by in your business things. So those are the dynamic attributes. For that we didn't have a support, and that work is under progress. You can see the detail on the ticket, and if you have any comment, you can provide the feedback there. Apart from these three major bucket that currently is going on, there are other small item and bug fixes also went in the last month and in the progress. The main work has happened around the grpc. So if you see, we have support for http related identifying. For the given service is a services providing the REST API, then we list all the API. Similarly, if the service is a gRPC, we provide all the gRPC related APIs. So there are a lot of issues we have observed with our demo application with the gRPC, and those has been fixed. So a couple of bugs like gRPC request and response size. Earlier there was some assumption. So lot of other the convention based, the OTL convention based fallback was also added. On top of that, we also added another attribute called gRPC attribute enricher as a uh, another container enricher. So with this, like every API, whether this API from client side or server side, because the gRPC API RMI protocol, it is not easy to identify just based on the tag data. You need a combination of this, whether it's entry or exit. So those kind of enricher we started doing it as part of gRPC attribute enricher. Apart from that, in our ingestion pipeline, in our one of the deployment, we observed that there is a lot of data is flowing, and sometimes um, uh, uh, it create a lags in our pipeline. So to control, we have added some of the control flag. So as example, like in span normalizer, if you want to drop certain span, uh, then we have added another criteria. So earlier criteria was very simple one, which is a string based equality criteria. Now we have added another for operator: equal, not equal, contains, and exist filter. And the format is also changed to the JSON format, so it is more easily readable. Another thing, we added the control flag in the in a pipeline in a raw span grouper level, where you can control the size of the trace. So uh, so you can say that, okay, in given trace, if just limit maximum number of spans to 500, and that also if you have multi-tenant deployment, you can also do the per tenant level as well. Apart from that, we worked last month on the moving the average function closer to the Pino in a query service layer from the gateway service to on gateway service. Uh, as part of these things, when we did a refactoring, we had created one regression where there are certain attribute rate related attributes. They were broken because of that change, and we have fixed that also as part of this release. Um, that is what I have at a high level for this month.
Cool. Thank you. Little a lot of these happenings for sure. And yes, the explore enhancements and application metrics is something definitely excited for. So cool. So let's jump to demos. And first we have Sandeep, who will be demoing toggleable legends on Explorer screen. So Sandeep.
Yeah, thanks, Jayesh. Can I share my screen?
Yep.
I think it is saying host disabled. You have to allow.
Now.
Okay, let me share. Yeah. So hello everyone. Sandeep this side. I'm working here on Hypertrace UI side. So the feature I'm going to talk about is toggleable agent. So this is one of the new announcement which is going to happen to Explorer. So let me jump onto the screen. So what used to happen earlier, like we have this visualization in the Explorer. If we want to add a new metric, suppose we want to add a duration matrix with line chart, what used to happen is like we can see like both the matrices here, but uh, if we want to visualize only one after some time, then we used to close this and then add it again to visualize them together. But now with this feature, you can basically toggle this visualization accordingly. So suppose if I only want to see the duration metric right now, so if you click on the duration, you will only see a duration. And if you click on the call count, then you can see the both. Or if you suppose I don't want to see the duration, then you can toggle back to call counts as well. And there will be a reset here. If you click on the reset, then it will go back to default one. This will also be useful in group by. So suppose I want to group by with endpoint ID, and I only want to see this one. So you can toggle to this one, or suppose these two, then you can toggle these and go back to default again. So basically, yeah, this is the feature, and this is the use case where you can basically toggle between the charts and visualizations.
Thanks. And we also know that you're working on grouping these legends together and then fixing
Yeah,
the metric selectors. So like, uh, we can see that one next in the next month, I guess.
yeah, sure.
So yes, next one, Sarthak.
Yeah, so can I share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
No. Yes.
Can you see the span count ticket?
Yep.
Yeah, so this was one of the issues which was raised by the open source community. So they wanted to visualize span count in the query explorer section. So earlier we didn't had this option, and now we in this month we have added that. So this is the current explorer section. So in the span section here we have spans option, which was not present earlier. So now we can group by using this based on the time interval. So if I'll generate some load over here, and I had previously also generated some load. So we have grouped these based on the number of spans in last 1 minute. So we can set the interval over here. So if we want to group them by, so if we want to group them in the intervals of 30 seconds or 1 minute or 5 minutes, so we can see in the groups of 5 minutes how many spans came. So yeah, this feature was added this month.
Ooh, this is definitely helpful in visualizing uh, span counts. The feature suggests. Yes. Thank you. So let me go with this. Yes. So thanks Sandeep and Sarthak for the demos, and definitely like interesting features and interesting additions for users as well, as Razorpay was also asking for a few of them from a couple of months. So on the roadmap and what we are building, what will be available in the next couple of months. So right now, as Onak mentioned, we are working on supporting application metrics, and that should be available soon. Then we are also focusing on exploring enhancements and some of the visualization improvements, as well as the table improvements on the, as well as filter improvements on the Explorer. So those will be available by first week of December's release. So that should be helpful as well. Then custom dashboard is something we want to get towards in next couple of months. Then ingestion pipeline optimization. Uh, Something is in pipeline. Application flow revamp. We are working on the UX for this. So once we finalize on the UX, this thing should be available soon as well. And SLOs have been priority from quite some time. But once we have a proper metric support, we can look at solving SLA and SLO or base use cases also. So that's kind of it for the roadmap. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. So if you want to go through, if you want to learn more about Hypertrace or read our blogs or read our documentation and all, you will find all of the links listed on this particular slide. I will link the slides as well, so you can find all the links here. Then you can even listen to our podcast where we talk about observability, and join our Slack community where you will find many folks in the observability community there. Cool. So thanks for joining in, and hope to see you soon in the next one.